Are you looking for a budget 85mm lens for your full frame Sony camera? Today, I have the Viltrox 85mm f1.8 for the Sony full frame E-mount system. Is this a great budget alternative? Let's find out next. Hi, welcome. My name's Brian, the Camera Guy. On my channel, I review Sony cameras and their lenses. If that's something that you're into, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Today, we're gonna be talking about another lens. It's the Viltrox 85mm f1.8 lens. And this is available for the Sony E-mount system, and it is a full frame lens that you can also use on an APS-C camera body. Now, if you wanna learn more about this lens, I'll go ahead and leave links down in the description below. Now, I've been using this lens for almost a month now, and I gotta tell you, I think it creates some absolute fantastic images, especially when paired up with that full frame camera. Now, I did use this lens when I went out to the beach. Now, all the B-roll that you're gonna see on this video was all done on the Sony a7 III paired with this 85mm lens. Now, I was shooting in Sony's S-Log2 picture profile, and as you can see, the colors coming out of this lens are absolutely great. I think they do a fantastic job of really pinpointing and nailing those colors. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the specs of this lens. Now, this is an f1.8 lens, and it does go all the way down to f16. It does have 9 round aperture blades, so you're gonna get some of that nice bokeh in the background. Throwing this on a full frame camera, you're gonna get that nice 85mm, and you'll get that shell depth of field when shooting at f1.8, or even if you stop down all the way down to 2.8. Throw this lens on an APS-C camera body, and you're gonna get an equivalent of about 127mm. That is a great portrait length anytime you're taking still photos. And it can create some really great subject separation. It's gonna give you some of that nice shell depth of field, giving you that blurry background. Now, this lens does have a 72mm filter thread, so as you can see, it is a really big piece of glass. So you're gonna wanna get a 72mm filter thread, especially if you're shooting outside for video. You wanna make sure that you have an ND filter on this thing, because if you're gonna try and get that blurry background during the daytime, you definitely wanna make sure that you have that ND filter on there. My recommendation, get an 82mm filter thread, and then go ahead and get a step-up ring and drop that thing down to a 72mm. And like I said, this thing has really got a giant front element on it. Now, this is the second version of the 85mm that Viltrox has created, and I can tell you, I'm happy to report the autofocus on this thing is really good. It was able to find the subjects very easily, and it did a great job of separating them and making sure that they lock onto the eye. Now, for portraits, this lens is gonna do a fantastic job. It's gonna really grab onto the eye, and it's really gonna make your subject pop off the page. Same thing if you're gonna be shooting B-roll with this thing, and you're gonna get some great footage, giving you a really shell depth of field. My recommendation is anytime you're shooting with one of these prime lenses is you really wanna be shooting under a 2.8. It just gives you that beautiful background, that cinematic look that everybody's looking for. And I really think these prime lenses do a fantastic job. Zoom lenses can do a great job as well, but nothing gets you that really blurry background when you stop down to like that 1.8 or even a 2.0. Really does a great job really bringing out your subject. Now, Sony has 2 versions of their 85mm. One is an f1.8 and the other one is the G Master f1.4. Now, of course, if you're looking for top of the line quality glass, you're gonna wanna go with that G Master lens. You're gonna be able to go all the way down to 1.4. But that lens is gonna run you $1,800. This lens right here is gonna run you $400, and it's gonna do a great job. Can most people tell the difference between a 1.4 and a 1.8? I'm not sure if they really can. Now, Sony does have an 85mm f1.8, and that one is only $600. So the question you have to ask yourself, is that $200 difference worth it? I can tell you that, like I said, using this lens, I think it's done a great job. Now, an extra $200, that could get you a 50mm. So you could have a 50 prime and an 85 prime. I do have the 50mm f1.8 for Sony as well. If you're looking to get some cheap prime lenses, maybe saving that $200 makes a lot of sense. Now, let's talk about the build quality of this lens. Now, this lens comes in at 1.06 pounds. If you're looking to get the Sony version, the f1.8, for them, that's gonna come in 13 ounces. So you're gonna save a couple ounces, a couple grams. And if you're looking to get the Sony G Master, that one's a pretty hefty lens. That thing's gonna come in at 1.8 pounds. So that thing is gonna be pretty heavy. But if you're looking for a light alternative, this f1.8 is gonna kind of fit right in the middle there. Now, this lens does have a nano coating on it, and that's gonna help reduce flaring and ghosting. And I can tell you that taking photos with it, it does a great job. One of the cons that I will say about this is the lens feels really good, but this lens hood is a little wonky. I'm gonna say it's a little wonky. It's a little hard to really kind of line up on here. It's a little hard to line up on here because as you can see, that line showing you where it pairs up, that line showing where it pairs up is really tiny. Sometimes it's hard to see. Even when you're trying to get this thing on, you really have to push it on before you twist it to get it to lock in. It's not a very smooth locking system, and it feels very kind of cheapy. But once you get it on, it does do a great job eliminating a lot of those sun flares coming in from the side. Here's your fully sized lens with the lens hood, and as you can see, it's almost as big as my head. But the metal construction around it does feel pretty good. It is not weather sealed. There's no weather gaskets on the back of this. It does have this giant focus pole, which, to be honest with you, I haven't used too much. I mostly rely on autofocus, and it does a pretty good job with that autofocus, so I've just relied on that. So my final thoughts on this lens is, it's a pretty good budget option. Is it gonna be top of the line glass? Probably not, but you're paying $400 for an 85 prime. I think it's gonna do a fantastic job for you, especially if you're just starting out. I would highly recommend this lens. I'll leave links down in the description below, so if you wanna find out more about this lens, you can feel free to click on those links. So before we finish this video, I'm gonna do a new segment. At the end of every video, I'm gonna highlight a couple comments. So first comment comes from Galea Preaka. Thanks so much for your comment. I can't find your setting for the record setting. This feature shows 25p at 160. How do I find that, sir? What you wanna do is you wanna change maybe to the NTSC or the PAL. So depending on what country you're in and what lights you're using, if you're using just basic lights, then you're gonna wanna be using the correct setting, either PAL or NTSC. Here in America, we use NTSC. It helps with the flickering of the lights. Hopefully that helps. Next up, we have John Ma. I think full frame lenses match with full frame cameras, which makes more sense. If put in this little Tamron lens into an APS-C camera, why not just buy the Sony 16 to 55mm f2.8 G Master lens? Price is pretty much similar. Yeah, the 16 to 55mm on an APS-C is gonna be a fantastic lens. But if you're looking to maybe get the glass before you get the full frame body, then the Tamron 17 to 28mm, it's gonna be a great option for you, and you're gonna be able to save close to 500 bucks. But if you're looking to go APS-C and you're planning on staying there, then the 16 to 55 is gonna be your best option for a 2.8 zoom. If you have any comments regarding anything with this Viltrox lens, make sure you leave them down in the comments below, and maybe you'll be featured in my next video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Brian, out.